Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. I am Reuben, joined here today with Aaron, and we are back to review Severance, Season 2, Episode 6, Attila. I'm like Attila, but much realer. Yeah, you can listen to this wherever you get your podcasts. Sorry for that little improv rhyme. I don't know where that came from. Across all podcasting platforms. We don't rhyme, we just review. And if you want more Nerd Soup, you can visit our Patreon page. There you go, there's the link. I did enjoy that play on words there. I was like, well, what is the meaning going to be here with Attila? And it's just Attila the Hun, because they're honeys.
Yeah, that was disrespectful to be like, yeah, you know history, right? It's like, yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah.
I get the reference. Fields. Tell me more about how Bert worked at Lumon 20 years ago.
Yeah, instead of being condescending, why don't you just fill me in on the corporate conspiracy here? Yeah, my wife has a little different nickname for me, but we won't get into that.
Genghis.
I wish I was I had that rep to be Genghis. That boy was stomping. He said, "This country, this is my country now." Yeah, no, good episode though. I think that this show, there's been a lot of talk about the love triangles developing, or the love squares, pentagons.
Yeah, I've upgraded it to pentagon.
Because when you really think about it, no, it's crazy. Because it's like Gemma, there's 2 Gemmas, there's 2 Marks, there's 2 Hellies. That's 6. I can't go that far.
Yeah, what is 6? A cube?
A hexagon? Cube, yeah. No, yeah.
I'm thinking 3 dimensions.
And it's even the set design now of The Office, which was revealed in the last episode, removing Irvin's desk, where there's only 3 desks. And we saw love triangles play out all across this episode. Hold on, I'm just waiting for my Alexa to shut the fuck up. She's always got a message for me at 7:40, and I have no idea how to turn it off. She's always telling me a fun fact.
Just say,
oh, wow, it's about Attila.
No way.
No, it's not.
Wow.
She's actually too far away, but it could still be picked up on the mic. Good old robots. Yeah, but I thought the scene between Dylan and Gretchen, it's the first time that the show has tugged on my heartstrings in a way where I thought they were going to snap. That was devastating. We suggested it, that maybe there was this relationship budding where at home, Dylan and Gretchen have lost that spark, but when she gets to have these encounters with Izini, she sees the person that she fell in love with again. And just how infatuated he was with her, that he just wants to sit there and stare. And women love that. They love cute shit like that. So when he says, sorry for being weird, she's like, no, this is what we've lost on the outside, and now I'm able to get it on the inside. And it's a little unfair to Dylan's outie as well. But also, the scenes between Mark and Helly, very tender, and also playing with your heartstrings because of, Helly basically having this moment taken from her by her outie, and then resolving to experience it for herself. And then the dinner scene between Bert, Fields, and Irving. As you mentioned, there's more information as to what Bert's role in the company truly is, because we learn that he was working there before Severance was even a thing. Just the gaze between Irving and Bert, the connection, and this idea of, does that chemistry carry over to the real world? And they also suggested that between Helly and Mark at the Chinese restaurant. And then the bigger picture stuff, the reintegration. Ragabi is becoming one of my favorite characters in the show, just this wacky, mad scientist who's so determined to figure this out. Why is she so determined? We don't know yet, but I think it's fun how she's this just experimental character who's willing to do and try anything in order to reverse this procedure. I thought it was so funny when Mark was ready to get back into it and she's just on the couch eating ice cream. This is what she lives for. She's just waiting for this next opportunity. So yeah, episode 5, I think people are saying not necessarily the weakest, but I think the least happens, but important development for these characters. But here in episode 6, you got both, where they're moving the story ahead. You're getting great development, some of the best development that they've done for these characters. And overall, just a great episode. And Milchick was the funniest part of it. When Miss Wong walked in his office, there's just so much silence shared between them. He's just staring at her. He was so mad that she criticized his big words.
No, he fucking hates her. I had a realization. I feel like, do we know where Milchick started? Because I think he might have been child labor also, like Miss Wong.
So there's a theory with the pins that they wear, that if you're wearing that teardrop pin, that you were raised in the cult.
Mm.
And I think that's something that I love when shows do this, where it's such an obvious idea, because they told us about Cobell being raised in the cult, and Miss Wong, seemingly it's the same thing, where she's working this fellowship, but obviously with what Lumon does and the responsibilities that they've entrusted in her, it's not something a child should be doing. So yeah, no, and I think that that could also extend to the rest of, Natalie, Milchick, even though the woman who, when they first walk in, she's wearing that teardrop pin. I even thought in this episode, because we've seen people being severed on the outside, where in one moment they're one person, the next moment those memories have been wiped. I wonder if Milchick is also severed that way. And all these characters, if they have that power over all of them, that if hitting that button, all those memories get wiped.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot. Like, we still need to learn about the workers and the Lumon cult, because obviously we've gotten some indication of how deep it runs especially with Cobell last season. But for these people like Natalie, for Milchick, for Miss Wong, where did they start? How are they where they are now? And how deep is this philosophy ingrained inside of them? It is something that the only thing they probably ever known. And it's just, that's how they kind of use it we see the lengths they go to manipulate the innies and the outies, but what are they doing to keep their workforce loyal to them? Unless it's just a crazy benefit package.
No, and I think that would also be very satisfying as an answer, that Milchick is inherently a good person, but he's trying to shed that because he wants to prove himself to his superiors. It's a villain trying to come into his own to prove himself to even bigger and badder villains. So when he's having that breakdown, trying to change his vocabulary to something that's a bit more digestible for Mrs. Wong, and eventually it flips to he's talking about himself, where grow up becomes grow. You need to shed this person who you are to become someone like a Cobell or someone that is trusted with this responsibility. But it also feels very paternalistic the way that they treat Milchick. When it is hilarious though when he keeps looking at the report and the word contention. So it's almost like they're trying to keep him in place while also wanting him to excel. So it's a very, very difficult balancing act for this character, and I don't see any way that he doesn't have a complete breakdown.
Yeah, but it makes sense for Miss Wong to find that to be an issue, seeing that she's 12,
Dude, she's also such a good actor. She eats this man up in these scenes. Those looks that she gives her.
Yeah, there's a couple faces she gives of just like...
Yeah, she was so mad when he was like, I could flunk you. Or when he told her to go back to her regular desk. Milchick. Also, why is she like taking blood pressure and acting?
No, she has a medical degree.
That is so funny, dude. A literal child prodigy. They should just keep giving her more and more ridiculous skills. Like, Miss Wong could dunk. Out here jumping like Mac McClung.
She's like Doogie Howser, pretty much. Wasn't he a doctor?
Yeah, he was. Wouldn't let that kid near me.
But she just had no idea what she was doing. Blood pressure's at lethal rates. Everything seems to be fine here. But yeah, a lot of interesting things with the innies and outies. I think what Bert and Fields were saying was pretty, I don't know, that was fun to think about. Because I wasn't expecting the religion angle for them. Because obviously it could be a cover because Fields lets it slip that Bert's been at Lumon for 20 years. So that was been a theory going into this episode, that Bert is kind of some double agent and has ties with Lumon. It'll be interesting to see what his role is and how much he actually knows. But I felt that was a very interesting kind of outlook on the innies and outies and their souls, that your outie can go to hell and your innie can go to heaven because they are viewed in the eyes of the church as separate souls.
Right, yeah. And that felt like cope because of what Bert has done. He's done so many bad things that if I split my soul into two, at the very least my innie will go to heaven. But I think the show keeps, time and time again, they show us that they are the same person because of the chemistry, where inside of Lumon, Bert and Irving felt like soulmates. And even on the outside, that final look that Bert gives to Irving, it felt like a soul in conflict with itself, where I love Bert or I love Irving, but because of who I am and my status at the company, I'm going to have to betray him, that this doesn't end well for us. So yeah, and I think it's also just an interesting idea. This episode did a lot of that. Like even, the idea of having sex and is that your experience, even though it was your body, but it wasn't your mind, when Helly says, I don't want that memory. But the religion angle, yeah, it was unexpected, but I do think it was an individual with a corrupted soul trying to like a last ditch effort to save himself in the eyes of not God, but just himself. Now he's presented with a real opportunity to do some real good, not just cut your soul into two, and because you're not a bastard on the inside, you're going to get into heaven, even though you're still working for Lumon. Whatever the work is, mysterious, important. It could be very unethical, but now this is real. You can really help Irving on the outside and help set the innies free, so we have to see if he's going to take that risk. But I thought John Noble was incredible as Fields, because you're so passive-aggressive. Obviously, he's feeling very conflicted about Bert having this relationship with Irving, but he also wants his innie to be happy. So, yeah, it became very messy. But there was so much pain I found in Noble's performance, and I thought when that was announced as a casting, oh, that's an Egan, because he's so great at playing villains, and he's got the great voice for it as well. He can deliver a monologue. But
he still could be.
Christopher Walken's husband. No, yeah, he very well could be.
Fields Egan.
But like I said, so much pain in that office. I mean, at that dinner table. It's essentially finding out that the person you love actually isn't your soulmate. So Fields doing this for selfish reasons as well, that he wants the love of his life to also get into heaven with him, but finding out, no, inside, outside, we're just not soulmates. Fields Egan. I don't love it.
It's a second-round pick out of BYU.
Yeah, that motherfucker's making his debut at like 27, but solid. And if he has a hot first week, Yankee fans are going to be putting him in Cooperstown.
Yeah, trade Judge, build around Fields.
Yeah, 100%. The new Shelley Duncan. Remember Shelley Duncan?
Think about him most days.
Bro, he used to crack balls.
But Irving, we've seen, obviously, with his little investigative box, that's something that didn't get past him. His house being broken into. It definitely seems like a coordinated effort on Lumon's part to have the dinner that day. Bert is going to keep him at the house for a few hours while they can go in and investigate what Irving's doing on the outside.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And one of our listeners, shout out to John Lake, he suggested that Irving has a background in law enforcement. That's why he was able to deduce that Helena was taking over Helly's body. And I wonder if there's going to be, if they reveal that Irving knew that was going to happen and he maybe laid a trap for them. But yeah, no, even that look that Bert gives him suggests that it was coordinated and that Mr. Frolic was rummaging through his personal items and all the research that he's been doing. If he hurt the dog, please, shows, movies, stop hurting dogs. We get it, okay? It makes us feel bad. Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh yeah, we didn't hear Radar.
No, we didn't.
Mr. Frolic always has a raw steak in his pocket. Probably threw that in the corner.
Well, speaking of delectable meats, we're going to take a quick break before we get to the second half of this review and shout out our sponsor for today's episode, and that would be Factor Meals. And we know Severance focuses a lot on the philosophy and science of the human brain, but did you know that the human stomach is often considered by scientists to be the second brain? That's right, the foods you eat directly impact not only your physical health, but your mental health too. That's why optimizing your nutrition is so important, and Factor is here to help. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. Just rip off the packaging, stick them in the microwave for 2 minutes, or as I like to call it, 4 intervals of 30 seconds, and your food is served. You can eat them as soon as they're delivered or stick them in the fridge for later if you want your meals prepped throughout a busy week. And just look at these options: shredded chicken and butternut squash, creamy Parmesan chicken, grilled pork chop, and smoked cheddar collie grits. Plus the white cheddar chicken and broccoli grits, which was my first option. These 5 meals only lasted me 2 days. I was supposed to show them off and, kind of advertise them, but I couldn't help myself. Delicious and convenient for any time of the day. Say goodbye to the hassle of cooking. With Factor, there are 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week with a revolving menu, so it's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Plus, they've got wholesome smoothies, breakfasts, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons, like these delicious healthy juices, packed with essential vitamins. These are so good that I'm just gonna stack my fridge with them like I'm prepping for Armageddon. Which could be around the corner, I don't know, these days. It's also really fun to shake them, I don't know why, but I just find this to be very satisfying. So eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/nerdsoup50off and use code nerdsoup50off to get 50% off your first box, plus free shipping. That's code nerdsoup50off at factormeals.com/nerdsoup50off to get 50% off, plus free shipping on your first box. At first when the dinner was starting, I was like, oh, okay, maybe Bert's just Bert, and they're continuing the love affair, and that's good enough to keep Christopher Walken in the picture. But then it's, you get the reveal about him working at Lumon for a long time, and you're like, oh my God, what the fuck has this man been up to? And Walken, he's so good at playing both sides of the spectrum of good and evil, where he can be, if anybody's seen King of New York, he's terrifying in that movie, but he's also looking out for his boys. He's got a good heart, even though he does awful things. And he's just a terrifying presence, but also a delightful presence. He's got a lot of range there. And Irving, not saying much at that dinner verbally, but saying a lot with his eyes. And I think Turturro is, also an excellent actor. And this is just another incredible performance by him after what he delivered in episode 4, where the character is, very assertive and confrontational. And now he's very subtle and calm. His Audi is more, I'm going to observe these things and then come to conclusions. Whereas Innie takes more initiative. So very much the same character, but different sides to him. And it's fun the way they keep playing with that.
Right. And it is interesting how certain personality traits are shared between Audi and Innie, but they're used in different ways, especially with Helena in that moment. I was wondering, because obviously they set the camera up to show the opposite side of the booth of Mark. So you knew someone was going to come into the frame and sit down. So like that 5 seconds before she sits down, I was just being like, all right, who's coming in? Who's coming in? I thought maybe Cobell, but for it to be fucking Helena Egan that was shocking. She doesn't go to like those type of restaurants.
That's what I kept thinking to myself.
Fine dining. It's like, it's not a coincidence that you're just at the local Chinese spot down the block.
Yeah, I imagine that Chinese spot. I always love a good big meal, but upstate New York, I'm just going to assume that's where they are. Nothing like the Chinese we got down here.
No, but it was probably fire.
I'm a big Chinese food guy. But just the back and forth, Mark being like, I think I know who that. Yeah, no, that's Helena Egan. What the fuck? And Helena having that experience with Mark and then seeing him all disheveled on the outside. I found that to be really funny, the way he's just looking up at her, baggy eyes, looks exhausted versus, who she knew as Mark S. So, and then once again, the chemistry being rekindled between them, because the back and forth about, oh, I want to take you to meet my dad. At first that made me scared because that guy is kind of terrifying. I thought, what the hell is she going to do to Mark? But that felt like a tease, like down the road there's going to be a confrontation between Mark and Papa Egan.
Yeah, because it is reminiscent of how Helly and Mark S would kind of interact with that playful banter, but using it for two completely different ways. And we've talked about the sex scene in the tent. Was that Helena trying to manipulate Mark, or was she jealous of Helly? And she kind of, in that moment, allowed herself to be free and be the person that she's not allowed to be. In this moment, it seems more like manipulation. I mean, didn't even get the dead wife's name right. Coming to my Chinese restaurant, trying to flirt with me, you get my dead wife's name right.
Yeah, when she said that, I was like, does this mean something? Or no, I guess she's just kind of being a little bit of a dick. Because even the way she brought it up, it was in a way to make Mark feel intimidated. That I know it's not so much that I feel bad for you, but I know you. And for Mark, that's kind of what inspires him to go back to Ragabi and get this thing going, because they don't do any of those flashes where he sees Helena and then he flashes to Helly in the inside. But a part of him probably knows that there's more to this, especially because she's the head of the company. Sure, she can know a lot about her employees, but that gives him the spark to go back and further the reintegration.
I mean, at first there was probably whatever, but as the conversation goes on, he knows this is just Lumon being Lumon. And when she brings up the wife, obviously it's a tell that, or not necessarily a reminder, because I don't think he just forgot in that moment that Gemma's still alive and he's trying to get her back. But it was just a quick little flash, like, okay, yeah, these people are fucking evil. And this is not a coincidence. The same way Cobell living next door and Milchick showing up at my door. Like, this is what Lumon does. And it just gave him that spark to go back and take the risk to get the procedure done.
Right, yeah. And for Helena, they keep talking about how they need Mark to finish Cold Harbor. So that felt very much, whereas Mr. Frolic going into Irvin's house felt like it came from the top, that felt like Helena on her own. Because she even says, oh, I'm the head of the company. I basically can do whatever I want. But we've seen that that's not true. that she is given orders. And that goes back to the theory of who's controlling the board. I do like the idea of it being this collective conscious of all past Egans. So even though you're the living, breathing heir to the Egan Empire, you still have to answer to your ancestors, which is a really freaky idea. But that felt like her going out on her own and not really knowing what to do with her feelings, because she clearly loves Mark, but it was Mark S. who she has the encounter with. Now it's Mark Scout. So yeah, I think with Helena, there's just going to be more uncertainty and more unpredictability with that character as the season goes on. Because in episode 5, she's ready to, fuck the innies, they're animals, blah, blah, blah. But I can't imagine those feelings have gone away that easily, especially when she's been so sheltered and so controlled her entire life. And then going back into the, inside of Lumon, comparing the sex scene that Mark had with Helena versus Helly, it felt way more pure and tender. And there was way more of a focus on Helly's experience, on Helly's reactions to, being with Mark and experiencing this for the first time. Their kisses are a bit more awkward. There's more, nervousness, fumbling, not knowing where to, sort of position yourself. It was really cute the way that they found, this vacant room and said, look, it's a tent. So I found that to be a very sweet interaction between those two characters. And I like the way, at first Helly's very distraught about it, because in a way it's like you've been assaulted, that someone took control of your body and you didn't have, your mental faculties in that moment, but your body experienced it. So it's a violation. But then for her to say, you know what, I don't want that memory. I want to experience that on my own. It was a moment of it was an empowering moment for both of those characters. And Mark's face when she suggested that they should fuck, he was like,
I want my own.
That was a funny ass smirk that he gave her.
Yeah, he's like, it's like, right now, like you want, like, no, Mark, not in the fucking hallway. We'll go somewhere.
And even when Miss Wong asked them what they were doing when Mark's knows, she's like, we were refining data.
And Miss Wong's like, you haven't refined data in 3 episodes. We're very behind.
I was watching Monsters, Inc. and I'm like, man, these guys don't do any work. Sully's going to lose the record. And the same thing watching Severance. I'm like, they're never going to finish. Cold Harbor seems like it's something very bad, but I'm like, man, they're never going to finish that shit. It's making me anxious.
Yeah, that was a nice moment. And I think for Helly, like he said, just the feeling of being used, like where you're at a point where your mind's not there and you didn't get to experience that, especially just the intimate connection that she has with Mark, to have that taken away, that moment taken from you, and being able to, try to take it back and take it for yourself. I mean, that's just a great moment between those two characters. And even what Mark says in the bathroom, that it could have been used as a way to divide the characters. And we see how they're trying to use Audi Dillon's wife to give him incentive to not go against Lumon and maybe cause a divide there as well.
Right, yeah, because he says he didn't pocket the map because he didn't want to get in trouble right now. And they still don't know what's going on there. But yeah, I think it was cool for Helly to, at first I thought it really was going to drive this permanent wedge between them when Mark is honest about what happened. And even that was very tense, just him getting the words out. At first, Helly thinks that he's talking about Gemma. But for Helly to come back and say, no, you know what, fuck that. It's like Milchick's plan there failed, where he threatens Mark at the end of episode 5. Oh, does Helly know that you guys fucked? And Mark goes, well, now she does, and she still likes me. We're still on the same team, so fuck you, Milchick. Everything that this guy's throwing to the wall just isn't sticking. And him being obsessed with the paper clips. Yo, Milchick's, everything they're doing with him is so fucking funny, bro. Just these small little details that are hysterical. He was working on those paper clips the entire episode. That's all he did this episode. And it's like, oh, they don't know what to do with Milchick. And it's like, no, that's just fucking hilarious.
Watching him slowly digress his vocabulary was fucking hilarious.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Because there's like 5 big words in there.
Oh, poor guy. He said of your essence. Like, come on, bro.
You must eradicate from your essence childish folly.
That's how motherfuckers be writing on Letterboxd.
Yeah, no, that would piss me off too.
No one can understand you, Milchick. But like I said, it feels very paternalistic. Because everybody else talks in riddles and codes, but if Milchick does it, it's like, we can't understand you. And to your point, he's got Miss Wong there. But Miss Wong seems like a fucking child prodigy. She seems like she's being a dick. And I keep thinking back to your point that she just wants his job. That's what it feels like. Even when he gives her control of the floor, she's like, yeah, I can do this.
She got so pissed when he's like, sit at your own desk, though. She thought she was getting the big chair.
What did you think about the way that they did the memories sort of clashing together? I thought that was really clever because it made me scared for Mark that he was going to crack while he's inside of Lumon. And then I was like, thank God it's revealed that he's in his basement and he's just remembering this. It's just hard to know what's happening.
No, it's very well done. And the editing of the show has been spectacular. The whole series and the way they're able to intertwine that with the different, either if it's a character changing or the setting changes, and just the way Adam Scott is able to act out these scenes are so convincing. And it really is just visually very impressive. Even at the end when he's getting the procedure done, I thought him, with the noise and everything kind of showing it visually, not necessarily what's going on in his head, but from the two different perspectives, head on and then from the outside. It's just amazing work. And I think those are some of the most interesting scenes and ones that are really done very well. And it just adds a different layer to the show.
Yeah. Just hearing the voices of him not knowing if it's Mrs. Wong or Gabi saying it. And then the way that Gemma and Helly keep being spliced together. And also those memories at the end when he sees Gemma in an outfit that's something that she wore on the outside, not in the inside. So now when he's thinking back to his memories inside of Lumon, he's seeing Gemma on the outside. So they are starting to converge here. And, he does collapse at the end. I don't think Mark S. is dead. I think that it's going to continue to be a struggle as these memories converge. They're really taking a lot of leaps here. It's not even steps. It's a giant leap forward to how this reintegration is going to work. And Devin, always the good sister, when she's like, you're supposed to answer my text when we're doing corporate espionage. And she does bring up the senator's wife that she met in season 1, who was severed on the outside. And it looks like Devin is going to be brought even further into the fold here, being introduced to Regabi. They're not going to be able to hide this, what they're actually doing. Yeah.
Well, Regabi's interesting. I mean, I don't know if her first instinct is that she's a good guy, a good character, trying to do the right thing. Does she view Mark as just the means to an end?
I think so.
Yeah.
Even giving him that information, all I know is that your wife is essential. She probably knows more because she's so determined about it.
And even with the procedure, obviously a more gradual approach. I'm not a doctor, but it seems like it would benefit the one who's receiving the procedure, mentally and physically. It could just be a time thing where this needs to happen now because Cold Harbor is almost done, which makes sense, but also to kind of rush the process without letting Mark know maybe the permanent ramifications of doing so.
Yeah, and for Mark on the inside and the outside, he's got people in his ear pressuring him to get this done. In the inside, it's Cold Harbor. On the outside, it's reintegration. So he just can't escape Lumon no matter what. He's constantly being pressured, constantly being pushed in a certain direction. So yeah, no, she feels like a character who's got a personal motivation that might not necessarily be a good thing for the characters that we like. And this all the stuff between Gretchen and Dylan, that looks like we're headed for massive heartbreak. The other innies still don't know that he's meeting with his wife, and we'll see what happens when they do find out, because there could be a sense of betrayal there, that Dylan's not going as far as he can to help them because he wants to maintain these visits. And I was wondering, when is that going to evolve from hug to kiss to just straight up having sex with each other? And I ended up feeling bad for outie Dylan because he just seems like a guy who doesn't know himself. And it's so funny, dude. I was looking up woodworking classes the other day, and when she says, on the outside he's got all these hobbies, scuba, woodworking, I was like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I'll just go buy a chair at IKEA. I don't need to. Who am I proving myself to? I don't know wood. I don't have the hands for that.
It's very much, the relationship seems like it's almost for her, when you meet somebody and then over the years, it's not the same, whatever it is, things change or you get too comfortable and.
Yeah, Mike and Mike.
Yeah. And seeing any Dylan, I think it just brings her back to a time when she fell in love with Dylan in the first place.
Right. Yeah, no, it's an experience for her that you never get, the chance to fall in love again with the person that you're married to. So she's being very selfish here. She even lies to Audi Dylan and say, oh, it was canceled. Because the more she sees him and the closer she gets to him, it's going to be hard to hide that affection. And Audi Dylan's already kind of picking up on it because of her hesitancy to answer at first. And he goes, that good? So you're going to be jealous of yourself. That this other version of yourself has more game, has more riz than you do. But it's a sad part of relationships sometimes, that you get very familiar with someone, you get too comfortable, and you don't make the effort to, make them smile, make them laugh, surprise them with gifts or other ways of affection. So I'll tell you what, that dining room is not lit properly. I don't know how they're seeing anything. You stab yourself with your fork.
Audi Dylan definitely doesn't go to the bathroom to fart anymore. He just lets it rip.
Oh, yeah. No, 100%, dude.
Yeah.
He's letting it rip in bed and then, like, waving the blanket. Like, woo!
Yeah.
That's a stinker.
Yeah.
Smell that, Gretchen? Light the candles.
It's, we're probably just together for the kids at this point.
Yeah, that's sad.
Which is really sad.
For a time, I thought that was like me and you for Teddy, but now Teddy's moved out of the house and we're still together. Divorce is messy. We can't afford that.
Yeah, in this economy, inflation, come on.
No, separate rooms. Although the garage is kind of cold, man.
I'm in the garage?
No, I'm in the garage.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, but, overall, I feel like I keep saying this every week, but great episode. And the Milchick character, to me, has just been I laughed out loud several times watching him. And I like how the episode, at first, there's a lot of space just in the way that they're framed. We're very weird angles, like that one shot of Helly walking down the hallway. You only see the top of her head, and then she comes into the frame. And then as the episode evolves, these characters grow closer and closer together. But love triangles have points. The closer you get, you could get poked.
Yeah,
and
that's the thing about triangles.
Right. Avoid them at all costs. So yeah, I thought that when the early reviews said that they're going to get darker and deeper with these themes, you're really starting to see it. Because not only opening up the ideas of just severance in general and faith and philosophy and the body versus the mind, it's essentially like two characters, two different people fighting over the same body. But just the narrative itself is progressing in a way that is so fun and exciting week to week. And the description for the next episode seems brutal.
Lay it on me.
It was, I can't remember it verbatim, but it was a past love emerges Mark Gemma reunion. It's about to be a rough week for reunions because we're about to get Omni-Man and Debbie too.
I wonder what Mark's going to like when we see him next. Is he just going to be fully integrated?
He's fully integrated and he's like, oh shit, I got two Ys? Not bad.
I see you, Mark S.
Polly Mark? Okay.
Miami hitting it silly style.
That's crazy, bro. When Helly asked like which one was better, and then he doesn't get to answer because he's got the nosebleed, that would be devastating for Dylan too, dude. If any Dylan's just slamming it like Hulk Hogan, just ripping off the shirt.
He leaves the elevator, he gets done at work, he has scratches all on his back. It's like, oh, I must have tripped.
Oh, clearly I was attacked by a tiger.
Oh man, well, at least I'm gonna get the Pips VIP card. There's nothing on his car.
Dude.
Wait a second.
That's what really sets it off. He's like, you know what? I quit. I wonder if that could be an angle they go with too, where Audi Dylan becomes so jealous of Innie that he quits, and Gretchen's like, you just stolen the love of my life from me, you bastard.
I'm pregnant, Dylan.
Dude, when Fields brings up that, when he's pressuring them about, did you guys have unprotected sex? Super awkward. Bert's like, come on. Probably. But no, there are no condoms. So I think that's a lot of people were suggesting that maybe Helly was already pregnant because the promo they did showed her taking off her shoes, and they say that pregnant women do that a lot because their feet get swollen. But that's definitely a possibility. And I don't think that's an avenue the show is going to be scared of whatsoever, because they seem to really enjoy just throwing a wrench in the middle of it. It's like, yeah, characters had sex. Sex could lead to children, according to my research.
Yeah, that would be crazy. I think they teased that in season 1 on the news report, that someone's Innie got pregnant at work.
Yeah, that's definitely happening. I even wanted to bring up that they have the bereavement kits. That means that somebody has been straight up clapped inside of Lumon before. That's crazy, bro. You got to tell, like, there's no telling your outie you're dead because the outie's dead too. Just, you get the Pips gift card in heaven.
All it needs to go to heaven.
Yeah. That's a great place to end it. Good episode overall. Really excited for the next one, but some heartbreak is in store for us as the viewers. But it's been a great season so far. Steamrolling towards the end here. And I'm excited. I know you're probably excited too, Aaron.
Yeah, it's it's tummy's growling.
Oh, dude, I'm starving.
Yeah, I look forward to it every week. I mean, Thursdays come, and I like Thursdays for some reason. Sunday has always been the king of 9 p.m. appointment television, but having it like during the week, it's almost like, Friday comes early.
Oh, yeah, no, that's what it feels like. It feels like a good start to the weekend. And then you get the whole weekend to talk about it with your buddies.
Yeah. Hey, you see Severance? No, I don't have Apple. Okay.
All right, same time next weekend.